Have you ever wanted to discover what's missing in your life? Metaphysics is available to all and is part of your life even if you don't know it. Welcome to Metaphysics, a view through the veil with Barb Crowley. Together we'll explore the mysteries behind metaphysics and how to use it to have a deeper understanding and advantage in life. And now here's your host, Barb Crowley.
Hi, this is Barb Crowley, and welcome to Metaphysics, a View Through the Veil. Today, I am so happy to have back on the show Shari Peterson. She was on with us before talking about her flight, United 811, in February of 1989, where she had to sit in a different seat that she wasn't supposed to be in, and the plane blew a big hole in the side. You've got to listen to the show. We've got it up there, so you have to go look for it. And the name of her book is The View from 13F. Well, in talking to Shari in the last week, I realized that she's an expert on Sasquatch, and I have been looking for somebody who could talk to me intelligently about Sasquatch. So I am so glad to have her back, and she can tell me all about Sasquatch. And I have to say, this is all I know about Sasquatch. I'm going to say it all in one sentence. I believe he's an ET or from a different dimension, and that I think that other dimensions can come through wormholes, but only stay for a very short time. Then they have to go back. They can come back again, but they can't maintain and stay here, like a visa. They have to leave and then come back.
Re-energize or something.
Right. There's something about the density. There's something about the vibration maybe, but for some reason, a lot of other dimensions can come through, but only for short times, and they can't stay for any length of time. I also think that there is some kind of an agreement out there in the universe that Earth is protected, that you can't mess with Earthlings because they could wipe us out so easy and we're not wiped out. So those are the two beliefs I have about Sasquatch, and of course, I fully believe in Sasquatch.
Oh, good.
Never seen them. I've heard stories, Most of the time, I was neutral until I became an adult and got into metaphysics, and then I realized, oh, yeah, he's real. Now I want to know, do you know the Loch Ness Monster, Tim?
Not yet.
Okay. So how did you get into Sasquatch?
Oh, Barb, this is such a fun topic for me. I have a friend that is also very metaphysical. And one day, and we live in Denver, and one day we looked at each other and said, let's drive up to the mountains, have a couple of beers, and go Sasquatching. As a joke, right?
Wow.
And we went up to this little town called Bailey, which is about an hour east of Denver. Mm-hmm. Cute little town. And we saw a sign that said the Sasquatch Museum. So this is all just kind of happens, right?
Right.
So we decided to stop at a little restaurant right beside it before we walked over there. And we're sitting there looking up into the side of a hill. And my friend goes, oh my God, that's one right there. And I said, what are you looking at? Long story short, it was this enormous thing standing between two trees, and then it disappeared.
Did it move or honestly just disappeared?
It just stepped away. Well, we were looking at each other going, that's not a tree. I mean, it was so clear that it was not. And we hadn't even started. We were just having a sandwich.
You think you called them in?
I don't know, but it definitely, they do show themselves. It's their call. So he or she wanted us to see them.
Right.
And we finished our lunch and ran up the side of the hill to see.
Yeah, you see, this is where we differ. I would have been the other way.
No, we went straight up the hill going, oh my God. And we found the spot and we looked, and there were these two enormous trees. And the thing that was in the middle was probably 10 or 12 feet tall.
Was it still there?
No, it was gone.
Oh,
but we found the spot because it was just straight.
Yeah.
I mean, you
could see
right
how big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see any footprints or anything?
No, we didn't think to look. We were
Yeah.
just goofing off. We didn't even believe it. I
Wow.
did, we were just joking. It was a let's go to the mountains and go squatching. Ha ha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Total joke. So we're looking
yeah.
at each other going, "Oh my God, are these things for real?
And
Did
the
did
weird
that
one
really
thing
happen?"
that you said, he, she. So are they different genders?
Oh,
I always
absolutely.
thought it was male, but
No,
I don't think I ever gave it that much
no,
thought.
absolutely. Male, female, and they have juveniles. There's a lot
Oh,
of people that have
really?
seen
You've
the
seen whole
children.
families?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, there's so much about them. So we went over to the Sasquatch Outpost. Anyway, I had known those people when they first started the store. I wandered in there one day, and that's how I told my friend. I
They
said,
have
we
a
need to
Sasquatch store or a.
help. It's the Sasquatch Outpost, which was a little grocery store at the time with a corner that had Sasquatch stuff in it. And I said, what is this? And they said, well, we have a lot of people that come in and talk about Sasquatch. So it rapid forward, Bailey is a huge hotspot for Sasquatch activity.
Wow.
So I got involved with the Jim and Daphne that own the Sasquatch Outpost
Hmm.
and started working there part-time or volunteering actually and helping with different projects and stuff. And it's evolved over probably 15 years, a long time. Um, so as this evolved, we started taking Jim out and we started having these amazing experiences of them presenting themselves to us in different ways.
Yeah.
Um, one time we were standing in a field and my friend was standing there and it was a summer day in the mountains. There was not a breeze, there was not a sound. And all of a sudden, right in front of her, about chest level, this white smoke goes right in front of her. And she goes, hey, watch this. And we turned and looked, and there was no reason that was going in front of her, this
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
stream. So they can change shape and
Oh, wow. No,
oh
I
my
didn't
God, the
know that.
experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had so many experiences seeing um, how you can communicate with them, and they're definitely not of this world, and they're very curious about us. They're very you can feel them in your heart, and I
I
was
wondered about that. What's the feeling?
they're very heart-based. You can absolutely feel it in your chest. And so we'll be walking along and I'll tell her, I'll say, I got a hit. And then we'll see something happen. Something will happen that I'll look at a tree and they'll be going, you're looking right at me. And I can see the shimmer down the side of the tree because they can transform. And I've talked to so many people. I have a friend that he and his wife and granddaughter, she was 9 or 11, but a
Hmm.
child that could actually communicate and not a baby,
Right.
and they were walking in their property up there. And all of a sudden, the little girl goes, hey, Grandpa, there's one. So they all turned around and looked. And there was a large male Sasquatch standing there, and his hair was blowing in this breeze on the trail. And then he just
Disappeared.
disappeared in front of them. Yeah. And they all three of them saw it. And they're all looking at each other going, what?
And they
And
disappear in one shot. They don't, it's not like
they,
they're going into a wormhole and they disappear
no,
a little bit.
he just dissipated, like
Wow.
spoke. And Jim is this big biker guy, and he's a tough guy.
Hmm.
No nonsense, right? And he
No
tells this story.
metaphysics, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But when he tells this story, he tears up, and it affects him because it was so life-changing for him to see that happen on his own property. And it was just standing there, probably 20 feet away from him.
Do you think they have to come to the same place?
No,
You think they
no.
can go anywhere?
I think they can pretty much go anywhere. They have no reason that they can't.
Hmm.
Um, Another story, my
No,
friend
I
was
was
telling
just
me,
thinking wormholes,
oh no,
because some places just have
yeah,
openings to the other world that are more,
right. And
seem
that's a
easier.
possibility. But on this, what we have seen is them just disappearing. And
Right.
the very first one I ever saw outside of the signs, I was
Mhm.
hiking and it just walked right in front of me across this path. And I'm like,
And it's like 12 feet tall?
oh, it was enormous. And it was a beautiful cinnamon colored. And
Wow.
it had an enormous stride, and it just walked across. Now they don't make mistakes let me back up. Anybody that tells you they know about Sasquatch, don't believe them, because nobody does really. You only have your own experiences.
Right, right. I've
So,
had a few people tell me, and they've said enough that I'm thinking, this is more your fantasy than real experience. You know, like with you, you're telling me real experience.
oh,
With them, they're kind
absolutely.
of telling me what they read, what they heard, what they want,
Right.
you know,
No,
and
no,
that's
this
why
is real
they're
stuff.
not on and you're on.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Well,
Yeah,
and then it became such a thing up in Bailey, a decade ago that Jim started doing these meetings where he said, if you've had an experience, basically word of mouth, if you've had any kind of Sasquatch experience, we're going to do a meeting. We had
mhm.
80 people show up.
Wow, wow.
80 people show
That's
up. The
a
place
lot
was
of
packed.
people. And did
And we heard,
everybody have seen one, or
well,
there are people who wanted to as well?
we asked people to stand up and tell us what had happened. So we didn't get a chance to speak with everybody,
Right.
but they were all in this same community. And one fellow said just the other night, he said he has a lot of stuff on his property, right? And he said they heard this enormous clanging, and when they got up the next morning, they had some appliances out in their yard, and
Mhm.
something, it was a line of appliances, and something in the middle had picked up a stove and flipped it upside down in the same spot. That's what they
Wow.
heard. Now, who would do that? Who has opposable
Yeah.
thumbs, the strength? He's in the middle of nowhere to go out, and they're just messing with him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now
They're very,
I think where did I get this? I'm thinking, did you tell me or did I read it? Because I have looked for Sasquatch, looked for information where um the like the government workers,
oh, in the
you know
forest.
the forest workers, yeah,
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
will find trees that have been uprooted and
Oh,
turned
yeah.
upside down and put back in, and they'll just get in there and cut them down so nobody sees this.
Oh, I've seen
That's what
that
I
all
was
the
reading.
time. That's a
Oh,
common
do you?
sight.
Oh my God.
And you're walking through the woods, and all of a sudden you see that. It's like, who would do that? Who would stop in the middle of nowhere, pick a tree up and turn it upside
Well,
down and
who
leave?
can do it?
And who can
Really?
do it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
And
need heavy we need heavy equipment to do that.
you would not believe the stuff Jim has in the museum about that, because I have all kinds of
We're
pictures.
going to the museum.
We're going,
Yeah. Yeah.
please. But I have all kinds of photos on my phone too. I have one where these trees were in the woods, and then something wove a tree as big as I am, and I'm not tiny, what, a big tree, wove it between it high enough that I can't touch it
Right.
in the middle of nowhere.
Huh.
So who does that? It didn't fall that
Do you
way
think
because
there's a reason for it? Why would they
I,
do these
I
things?
who knows? It could be a sign. It could just be playing. It could be juveniles playing. It
Yeah.
could mean something. I mean, nobody knows. But one thing we've also discovered are a lot of arches where they take a tree and bend it and then
Hmm.
hook it somewhere else. Now, to me, I won't go under them. I just have a feeling that that's sacred. I just
Yeah.
don't want to mess with
Or
why
that's the
they
beginning of the wormhole.
or
So they're
something. Yeah, I
they're
just
remember this is the opening.
I don't want
Yeah.
to, yeah, trigger something I can't untrigger.
Right,
So I'm
right.
very careful about that. But it's really interesting to see. Last summer I went camping. My friend Jill has, she and her husband Ralph and their son have this beautiful property out by Cripple Creek in Colorado called
Mhm.
Guffey, population of 9 people.
Wow,
So
yeah.
it's a little bitty place.
And you were with
But
5 of them?
well, they have
5
all
of
kinds of
them? Yeah.
activity on their property. But we were walking around, and we were looking at the stuff, the action activities they have there. And um, she has horses. They do trail rides and stuff.
Mhm.
This is a very common thing they do. They will braid the horse's mane in a way that's so complex. There's no, and it happens in,
Sasquatch will do this, not your
yeah,
friend.
well, there's
Yeah.
who else is up there? There is nobody
Yeah.
within
So
100
they'll
miles
just
of them.
come and see the horse's mane
They
braided.
have a very big affinity with horses. They'll do their manes. And so they'll braid the mane, they'll pull the hair up, braid it. And like she said, that wasn't there yesterday. So she figured out how to unbraid it. It's very
Yeah.
sophisticated braiding because it comes down and goes back up.
Oh, wow. So it
Yeah.
loops. They actually take a braid and then loop it.
So
God,
she
don't you?
unbraids it. So she
Yeah.
unbraids it. The next day it's back again.
Well,
Now,
don't you
there's
feel like maybe these are messages or there's got
they
that
just
there's a
like
reason?
horses. and I went up there and stayed with her for 3 days, and all the stuff we had happen was unbelievable. We put a tent up on the property so they'd be around us. They're running around the camp. They're running around in the rain. One pissed on me.
Hmm.
Because
Wait a
I
minute,
kept saying,
back up. What?
you heard that right.
Right.
No, because we're in the tent and I go, oh my God, it was raining so hard and we were away from the house. And I said, I have to go to the bathroom and I don't want to run through the rain. And all of a sudden we could hear it was standing right over me, just peeing on the tent.
Oh
And
my God.
there were three of us in there and we just started laughing like, oh, that you funny.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. But she has
Now,
high.
did you see any like when you went out, well, it was raining, so there wouldn't be anything left probably. But did you see anything left from them peeing on you? Any yellow
No,
or anything?
no, it was raining really hard.
Yeah.
And then we all woke up because we heard it. And there's no, you know what rain sounds like on a,
Right. On a
and it
tent,
sounded like a fire
loud.
hose was on the
Yeah,
tent.
yeah.
And we're like, oh my God. But we could hear them. And then she has really high security at that property. So she has a lot of lights and cameras around, but
Mhm.
they're not heat, they're motion sensor. So
Oh,
you
okay.
have to pass in front of it. Well, they're 10 feet tall and they were going on and off all night. And
Wow.
there's no way they would do that unless something
Mhm.
was in front of them. And what's 10 feet tall?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and the
Well,
activity she's had around there,
but birds don't tend to
no,
be that active
it
at
was
night
during the night
anyway.
and raining.
Yeah. Oh, that's
No,
true. Yeah.
yeah. So
The rain wouldn't have tripped them off?
no, no,
Yeah.
because it's has to be motion. So and
Right, right.
she and her husband are both former law enforcement, so they're very serious about their security. So
Yeah.
it was
They're
really
very
nice.
paranoid is what it is.
Well, it's
They
just
learn too much. They learn
if
too
I'm going to
much.
buy something, it's going to be really good. Rain is not going to set it off,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of thing. So anyway, there's just the number of things we've had happen and the people we've met that have had these experiences, and a lot of people don't talk about it because they start developing a relationship with them,
Mhm.
and you can't
You mean
describe it.
with the Sasquatch?
Yes,
Yeah. And why is that? Because it's so heart-centered? Because they are so heart-centered or something?
they're so heart-centered, and you have to be serious about it. If you're joking or making fun of it or using, believe it or not, Bigfoot is derogatory. It is the inference I get. We are the Sasquatch people.
Mhm.
Here's a story. When I'm working at the store, I cannot tell you how many people.
Okay,
I cannot.
wait a minute, I'm backing you up. Are you talking
Okay,
about For Heaven's Sake or the Sasquatch?
Sasquatch Outpost.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah,
Because we
maybe
work together at a
we work
store.
together too.
That's why
We
I
have
had to
not seen
ask. Yeah,
Sasquatch at that store,
yeah.
but the people that come in and go, I have never told anybody this story, and they will tell it, and they get all emotional about it. And one of my favorites, oh my gosh, which one was the one where this young gentleman, a 30-year-old gentleman came in and he had on, now, those of you that don't live in the mountains will get this too, but he had on a polo shirt. It was tucked in with a belt and khaki pants. That is not mountain attire. And
Right,
shoes.
right.
No,
Yeah,
it
and
wasn't jeans and
shoes.
boots. Yeah, and
Yeah,
not boots.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he wasn't from around here, and he was
Mhm.
Native American, and he had a professional haircut. I mean, he wasn't a mountain guy.
Right.
So I asked him, I said, can I help you? And he goes, no. And he wandered around, and then he walks over to him and he said, have to tell you something. And I said, what's that? And he said, I really appreciate the respect you're showing the Sasquatch people here. I thought it would be a tourist trap, but you're showing a great deal of respect to them. And I appreciate that. So I said, how so? He said, well, I'm from Oklahoma, and it was a very long name from a tribe that he grew up with. And
Mhm.
he said, my grandfather was the medicine man and the shaman. And he said, on our property in Oklahoma, we had this big lake. And twice a year, spring and fall, we would go down to the edge of the lake and he would drum and we would sing and dance. And on the other side of the lake were the Sasquatch people, and they would be swaying to the music. And it's our
Wow.
way to say we're still peaceful, right?
Right.
And he said, I didn't know people didn't believe in them until I left home.
Oh, wow. That must have been a shock.
I'm like, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was so impressed with the store too. He said, you've done a nice job here. It's very respectful. So he left, and I saw Jim, and I mentioned it to him, and he goes, "Did you get his name? Can I talk to him?" And I'm like, "No," I was so just taken back by
Right.
the whole thing.
Did he
So,
buy anything? Did you have a credit card?
uh, dude, I
Right.
don't recall. It was just, pardon me, such a great story. But we had that all the time. People, one
Right.
guy came in and he said, and his wife's looking at him like, "You never told me that."
Yeah.
But he was from Iowa, and four guys, they were in a car, one of the old front rear wheel drive, like an old Ford or something,
Hmm.
sitting in a
No, he
cornfield.
was a mountain guy, right?
Yeah, well,
Or a
a country
farm
guy.
guy, yeah.
Yeah. But and he said they were about 16 and they were parked in the car drinking beer and smoking cigarettes, so mom and dad couldn't see him. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the back end of the car lifts up. And he said he was in the back seat, and the driver looked in the rearview mirror and he could see his eyes, and he was just freaking out. And all of a sudden they turned around, and looked, and it was this big hairy thing just in the whole back mirror or the
Wow.
back window, had picked up the car. And of course, they can't go anywhere because it's rear wheel.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're yelling at the driver, "Go, go, go." And he's going, "I can't." Well, the
yeah.
creature drops it and they just took off. And he said they made a pact to never tell anyone. And he never did until that day. And his wife's looking at him like, "What?"
Wow, wow.
So, and
He
one
had to
other one,
know he was in a safe space and you believed it too.
well, we try and create that because so many people come in and they get emotional. They go, "I've never told anybody this." But there was
Right,
there was one other quick one a few years ago. Well, the fire damage in the mountains is significant in the
right,
summers, right?
right.
Well, this kid came in and he was probably in his 20s, but he goes, "I've never told anybody this. Here we go."
Yeah.
And he said when that last fire thing was going on, he was really mad at his parents, and he was in high school, and he went camping. He took his stuff and he went camping, and he didn't care. He put up his tent and he built a fire ring, and he started building a fire. And he said he heard this noise and he looked, and this enormous furry creature came out, gave him a dirty look, put one foot into the fire that he just started, stomped it out, turned and
Wow.
looked at him, grabbed him by his shoulder and threw him. And the
Wow.
kid said he ran to the car, got in it, and drove away. He said he left all his stuff. He never went back. And he said it changed his life. He quit being a little jerk
Wow.
because
That's
he said,
amazing.
"I was not a good kid, and he said, it just changed my life, that this
Yeah.
thing could have killed me. And it just threw me like I was a rubber doll."
Wow.
So
Now,
these are the kind of stories we hear.
are they always peaceful?
The ones we've heard, there's a couple of people that come into the Sasquatch Outpost that absolutely are so credible, and they go out and camp, and they've created relationships with the families even and such,
Hmm.
but they won't share the locations. Um,
Right.
it's very,
It's private.
they
It's
really,
it's
they really
personal and
respect it.
private. Yeah.
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 And there's all kinds of stories about them living in trees and being able to shapeshift. And one thing I've noticed, when you go into the woods, when it gets really quiet, one's around, because I can feel it in my heart area.
All
I
the
can't just,
birds get quiet.
total quiet.
Yeah, that's an ET thing. And I've heard that from the people in, Phoenix when they had that big ET thing coming over them in
Oh,
97. Everything goes dead quiet. The air goes still.
oh
And
yeah.
that's a big ET thing.
And there's a lot of activity with extraterrestrials, and Sasquatch are always around at the same time. You're going to see some
Oh,
lights. You're going
really?
to
I
see,
didn't know that. Yeah,
yes, that's our experience now. I'm not
yeah.
saying, I'm just saying. And even Jill, she was talking about, and I've been to her property, obviously. And when you leave, you go, there's nobody around, no houses, nothing for a very long ways till you get to the town of Guffey. But there's she and her daughter, who is a medical person trained, so
Hmm.
again, they're both pretty
Science
substantial.
person, science
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
But she's also had experience. Anyway, they were driving along, and her daughter goes, "Wow, Mom, they must be having a hell of a party there. Look at all the lights at that house." And Jill looked at her and she said, "That there's no houses here. There's
Yeah.
nobody that lives on this."
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
watched it lift and go. And it was
Wow.
spinning lights. And she said it was the size of a house.
Yeah. I hear they're big. I've never seen anything. But, you've heard me, where you'd run toward, I'd run away. That probably is why.
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
we had one sighting. Again, my friend and I, I got a hit, and we got out, and we started walking. And all of a sudden I said, "There he is right there." And he was maybe 20 feet away.
Mhm.
And he was down with his hands on his thighs, he or she, hands on his thighs, doing the swaying thing, just watching us.
Yeah.
And so we said, let's go, let's go. So we started walking towards it, and we had to step over a log. We stepped over, looked up, and it was just gone.
Wow. Wow.
And where to go? If it had run off, we would have seen it, because we looked down and up and it was
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
they vaporize kind of. I mean,
they would,
disappear
yeah,
like that.
they can disappear
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And my friend is a hunter, and he, had been hunting in Ohio since he was 9, or, so he
Mm.
very good. So he did, let's go to the mountains. Okay. So we go up there. I said, look right there. And there was a flat rock and there was a cinnamon colored one again squatted in front of it. And I said, look at that. And he says, what is it? And I said, I told you. And he's looking at it going, oh my God. So I have my eyes on it. He gets in the back seat. He had taken the scope off his rifle so he could see it. He didn't
Right.
bring the gun. But I'm watching it. He gets in the back seat. He makes a noise. I go like that and look back, and it's gone. And I
Wow.
yelled at him. I said, look. He said, where to go? And there was
Yeah.
no way it
Yeah.
could have climbed up. It was 20
Right.
feet
And it
flat
would
rock,
just, yeah, disappear. Yeah.
gone. That always
Now,
makes me giggle. Always makes me giggle. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
and
How do you do
I
that?
feel like, well, if they can do that, can we do that? You
Yes,
know?
wouldn't you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Being here and then being gone? Ooh, I'd love that.
I'm telling you though, the experiences we've had, nothing. I made a comment one time. We'd start walking, and I said, "How come tree breaks are a real common sign? They break a tree a certain way." And I
Yeah.
said, "We haven't seen a fresh break for a while. Everything was older."
Yeah.
So we walked up this hill and came back, and it was very unlike us to come back the same way, because we don't do
Mhm.
paths. We just go hiking. And we ended up at the same path. And then right in the path we were coming down, there were 2 tree breaks, fresh, laying side by
Ah,
side.
right. To let you know that they were there. Yeah.
Nobody else was around. Who
Right.
heard that? And why did they put that? Or we'll
Yeah.
go up on a path and come back, and there'll be a rock formation on the path, right in the middle of the path.
Wow.
And you're out
Now,
there, and no,
that's communication to you. Do you have
yeah,
communication with them, to
yeah,
them? So, how do you communicate with them?
just think about them.
Now, or do you think you're calling them in? Like when you're going out there, and do you think that they know you kind of before they
Yes,
let you see them?
yes.
They
And
choose the people?
yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Because I'll go to places where I have usually have some sort of communication. And if I'm with someone that wants to go with me, totally screws it up, because they're there
You just
to
blew
make
it
it.
because I'm thinking I'm going with you.
Oh no, but I mean, we could talk about
Yeah.
that. But I mean, they're
Yeah.
making it a thing instead of, I really would like to experience this. You know the
Mhm.
difference, what I'm saying,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Oh, good, I saw Sasquatch versus, oh my God, I actually communicated with one, or, a respectful way versus a novelty.
Right, right.
So,
So when you're in their presence, do you think you're linked emotionally? Do you know what I
well, it'd be
mean
like
by that?
it'd
Heart
be,
to heart, kind of
yes, it is a heart
like
thing.
it's
And they're very
almost
good.
communication that way.
Yes. For
Yeah.
me, yes. I know a lot of people that it's, it's telepathic,
Uh-huh.
and they are very vocal. I mean, when you hear them, it's interesting, but it's rare that you do hear them communicating, but
I
it's
was going to
screeching.
say, yeah, you've heard them.
Yeah.
What did they
And
sound like?
nothing you've ever heard before.
Ah. I mean, loud, soft,
It can be both, because they
scary,
can murmur.
gentle.
Yeah. And the best, when they're communicating to each other, it's like gorillas talking, for lack of a better term. And there was a fellow, Ron Moorhead, and he came out to do some research. He's really well known, but he was a linguistics guy in the Navy or something, but he's very
Right.
highly trained. But he's also a Sasquatch researcher. And he taped a lot of it and listened to the vocalizations and
And he
stuff.
was
And
able
they
to
have,
tape it. I mean, it
yeah,
went on the tape.
yeah. But the thing that was so interesting about it too is there were what's the word, vibrations or something that
Mhm.
were not, he had never seen before, fluctuations in the,
And like the vocal cords, you mean?
yes, in the
Yeah.
sounds. And there,
But he was
it's
able
like
to hear it.
he taped it.
Right.
He
But
put
I
it,
mean, it not only was on the tape, he could hear it with his own
yes,
ear.
yes, I was
Because,
gonna say,
I mean, our ears have our range that we can hear.
right,
And
no, he
outside
could
of that
hear it.
range, we don't have it. But with
But if
tapes,
you,
they sometimes can hear things we can't hear by.
right, and they
Yeah.
have this ability to zap people and things where you
We
just
mean
get
zap them.
that, yeah, you are stunned, you can't move. That's
Oh,
happened to
wow.
me, and you don't, I mean, you kind of lose track of time, and
Right.
um,
Like
that one,
what I hear about ETs too.
yeah, the one
Yeah.
that when I explained when we stepped over the log and stuff, we were zapped prior to that happening, and we lost
Yeah.
about 10 minutes. And my friend and I, neither one of us could move, and then all of a sudden we could move. We looked at each other and said, "What just happened?
Yeah.
What was that?" And then we saw it.
And you know when you're zapped,
Oh
and
yeah,
I mean you're standing there paralyzed.
it's an energetic. Oh boy, I don't even know how to say it. Yeah, you're paralyzed. But, and I remember I was looking out the window and I wasn't seeing or thinking, and I couldn't move and I didn't want to move. I mean, it was just the weirdest thing ever.
But you're not afraid. You don't go into a
No,
panic.
but a lot of people are, and I get it because it is
Mhm.
new and it's scary and whatever. But I don't see, I have not, here's, thank you, Barb. You open this up. I have never done anything that would give them reason to be afraid of me or not trust me.
Right.
So I do that with them as well. This is happening, and I'm going to trust you that you're not going to harm me, because
Right.
they're all about the heart. And I can't remember who it was. If it was them or in a meditation, but think about this. They showed me the word heart one time. Okay,
The
look at that
Sasquatch
HEA,
did. Yeah.
and then they moved the H to the end. It spells earth.
Oh,
And I'm like,
wow.
wow.
That was clever.
Uh-huh. And I'm thinking,
Now
how?
you're seeing this telepathically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're showing me this,
Mhm.
and actually I could see them moving the H to the end, and because they're very heart based, and people, if you want an experience with them, you have to have your heart in the right place, because that's exactly where they hit you first to see who you are here, and
Right.
that goes along with that near death experience I had, where I'm going to say this real quick if I may,
Oh, please
that
do. Yeah.
yeah, because it
And this
ties
is
in, because
this is on the plane when you were then
right,
this is it. Yeah.
and when and I in my experience was when you have a near death thing too, excuse me, it is very heart based, because they talk about your life passing in front of your eyes, and it truly does, but not how earth people think it is.
Right.
Everything's vibration. So it was, what was your intention, what was in your heart when you had these experiences?
Hmm.
Was it a good intention? So that's how they kind of sorted out, well, these creatures do the same thing. They go straight to your heart. They don't want to hear you, what you have to say, or who you think you are, or what do you want to talk about. It's
Right.
who are you? And they hit you in the heart. And that's how I know they're around, because I could feel them scanning me.
Wow.
I mean, it's so
Wow.
clear. And it's like, oh my God, they're here, they're here, they're here. And I just start smiling, because
You
they
can
just
feel
make me
them
happy.
almost come into your body or
Yeah, they come in and go, they're checking you out. They go, okay, who are you? I mean,
should
I
we
don't even
show
have the earth.
ourselves to you? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't even have the earth words we've talked about, because everything's vibration.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a vibration that's scanning, but it's scanning in a way of, yeah, okay, you're a good person.
Have you ever
Or
asked them any questions?
um
Like, did they
yeah, and
disappear like that?
I I don't really have any to ask them, because they kind of show you. They
Yeah.
show you what they want to show you, you know. How do you do that? I've never asked that. I don't care,
Yeah.
you know.
Or
I mean, I don't have a
where did you come from? Where do you go? Anything like that.
I've never asked that. I know a lot of people have. And once you start going online and researching and seeing what people have posted about their
Right.
experiences, there's some extraordinary things that are going on. I attended a conference. This gal was there, and she was amazing. And she had been communicating with them since she was tiny, 3, 4 years old. And they
Yeah.
have followed her wherever she moved. They either hand her off to another group, or I don't remember the exact story, but she's always had them in her life and always on her property. And they
Mhm.
always are there for her. So the level that people have experiences with them really depends on where your heart is. And she
But they
started.
could never be in like in my backyard
Yeah, they
because I
could.
live in town.
No, absolutely
They
could.
could.
My friend that lived, she lived over in Solterra, which was across from Bandimere. People in Denver know where I'm talking about. Clear out there
Right.
in the city. She
Yeah.
had them in her backyard. She called me one night, and her bedroom's on the second floor.
Hmm.
And she said, there's one scratching at my window.
Wow.
So I'm not going over there at 1 o'clock in the morning, and she
Yeah.
calmed down. Anyway, I went over the next day, and you could absolutely see the footprints in the rock around her house. There were two big footprints right under her window in a
Wow.
freaking city.
Yeah.
And
Now,
that was the first time I'd seen that.
why did they want to contact her so much?
Well,
Why?
she's
What was
really,
that link?
I don't
No.
know. She's the one that I started doing this with. And
Okay.
she ended up moving to Florida, and they followed her down there. She sends me pictures all the time. She's in a community, and there's footprints in her yard. And she'll take a
Wow.
picture and go, look who was here last night.
So
And there's a big,
they actually traveled with her and stayed with her,
they,
almost like
I don't know
she's
why
a
they
member of
wouldn't.
the family.
Yeah, she definitely attracts them. And she's had all kinds of experiences when she opened up to it.
Do you
But,
think that there's any chance that she came from the dimension they come
oh,
from?
possibly. She's very,
Yeah, just curious,
yeah.
what's the connection here that they would
Well,
take
I
her as
think
family,
yeah, that's a really good. I told her once she's very advanced in a lot of stuff. And I
Yeah.
think they go, oh, good, somebody we can talk to and they won't freak out.
Right,
So
right.
we can start establishing communication because she gets all kinds of activity around her house. You'll see eyes shining.
Oh my
They're
God.
12 feet up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's two eyeballs, and they don't reflect light, they generate light. They're the only mammal that does that. You could be, in fact, when I was camping another time with Jill up in her property or close to it, we saw him going across. Her horse all of a sudden lifted his head because we were camping and horseback riding.
Mm-hmm.
And the one horse went like that, and Jill goes, "Oh, I can smell it." And I said, "There it is."
I was
And he
going to
was,
ask you about the smell because I've
yep,
read something
yep.
about
Oh,
that.
you can't mistake it. And we saw it walk about 3 steps and go behind a tree, and the tree, another tree, another tree. Then we saw two of them, a big one, a little one. And as they were walking around us down the ridge, they would turn and look, and you could see the eyes, the big one and the little one. And we
Right.
go, "Oh, they're down there now." But they walked all the way around us. But the
Huh.
horse knew right away. He just went, "Up."
Yeah, yeah. But they don't come in and sit down with you.
Not me.
No. Have you heard of people having, where they actually
I
come and sit with
yes,
them?
there's a gentleman that I really like that is up at this Sasquatch store a lot, and he and his wife have had amazing experiences. And he's a medical professional, so
Mhm.
he's so scientific that you would never think he would have this.
Right.
They found a spot that they are really doing a lot of activity with them, and he's really careful about it because he doesn't want to make it
A
other
tourist
people
thing.
go out there and
Yeah.
damage or create problems or whatever. But the pictures he's taken of things that have happened, he's got pictures of his tent, and there's a big hand pushing down on the tent,
Oh,
clear as
wow.
day,
Yeah.
messing with the tent.
He's inside the tent seeing
Yeah,
the hand? Oh, okay.
yeah.
I
So
didn't
they're
know if he
taking
was
pictures of
inside
it.
or
They can
outside.
see
Yeah.
the hand pushing,
Wow.
and they hear him walking around. And they leave food out for him, and they'll pick the lid up and take food. Now, a raccoon won't do that. Won't replace
No,
the lid. They don't have
no,
opposable
raccoons are
thumbs.
pretty messy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. They're
he
not good
knows.
guests.
No, no.
Yeah. Now
But they
that,
love gifts. They'll bring him presents. They love
oh,
little horses. They love horses, shiny marbles, and feathers. Those are their huge
huh.
gifts. If you give them a gift, they might. And what he would do too is he would set them up, take a picture, and the next day go out, and they've been moved around,
Oh,
but in
wow.
a way that the horse is still standing. Again, a bear wouldn't do that.
So he's the one that brings the little horses.
He's one of them. A lot of people do
Oh,
take
okay. I
horses
didn't
as
know
gifts.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Didn't know
Horse, they
that.
love horse gifts.
So they have an affinity with horses. Yeah. I wonder why that is. Well, horses are hard too. So, and they're
Yep.
spiritual. The horses I've seen are so spiritual, and they're there for their owners, for their,
That
like,
could, yeah.
to support them, to help run the energy, through them, that kind of thing. They're very
Well, another thing
heart-based
that's,
spiritual.
yeah, that's a good point. There's another thing that's in the museum that I find so fascinating, and I've seen this. Excuse me. They love not only braiding horsehair, they love braiding the American flag.
Oh,
They will
that's
go to
weird.
they go to the edge of the American flag and they kind of shred it, and then they'll start braiding it. And there's flags from all over the country in the museum. And anybody who's got a Sasquatch museum has those flags. And why it's the American flag,
Yeah, That's weird,
But
but
people will go out and find the next day, here's their flag that's been tattered on the edges and braided in the
I
same kind
wonder
of
what the
braiding.
braid thing is. That's got to be a vibrational thing. I wonder if it will, it will transfer vibration easier if it's in a braid. I'm guessing,
That's a
obviously,
that's a really good, yeah.
But
And when you talk to them, you can't, not you can't. I never ask those kind of questions. Why do you do this? Because there's other information coming in and it's hard to describe. If they're communicating with you, it's on a level that, and in fact, the first night we on another camping trip up there, my friend from Sedona was with me, and she's extraordinary with things that she can do too. Anyway, we were in the tent and we had our, each had our corner of this bigger tent. And this, I can't even think how to say it. There was all these little ones running around the tent,
little one what?
like juveniles. You could hear,
Sasquatch.
yeah, Sasquatch
How
running around the
big
tent.
is a little one?
Well, they're born. Now I'm gonna
Like three
switch gears.
feet or,
And they're probably 3 to 4 feet.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
and my Jill that owns the property, her family, they were outfitters, so she was a trained tracker. So the next day you go to look, you can't see them. You can hear them, but you can't see them.
So they can make themselves invisible, but still there.
Absolutely.
Still there.
Absolutely.
Do they
Because
always leave footprints or not always?
well, that's what I said. So we brought her, said, you come look at this. So she's looking at this, right? And she said, oh, look. And in the sand, there was a little butt print, like a little kid had sat down with a bare
Oh,
butt.
yeah. Yeah.
And we're
Oh, wow.
going, again, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's as plain as day. And it was
Right.
maybe 10 feet from the tent.
Hmm.
But one thing that happened, I'm laying there and I heard something, and all of a sudden I just felt myself being scanned. It felt like the squares, like a scan going over me, and I
Yeah.
couldn't. I was trying to get my friend. I'm trying to say Janelle, and I can't even talk. I'm
Right.
going, what is happening?
So you were paralyzed at that point as they were
Totally.
scanning you. Yeah.
And I could feel it. I could feel it. And then she said I disappeared for a while. I
Oh,
went somewhere.
really?
Yeah, because she said she tried to talk to me and I wasn't responding. And I said, you did? I said, what? She said,
Right.
yeah, you were
Right.
gone for a couple of minutes.
And you have no memory of that.
no memory of it.
Right. Right.
So,
And no marks on you, nothing.
oh, that's another story.
Okay, tell me that story.
Oh, I could show you pictures of marks on me. We'll do this for another time.
No, tell me a little bit though.
Well, and I don't know if these are Sasquatch, but I wake up sometimes with marks on my body that are very medically looking.
Oh,
And I've
really?
taken photos because they
Yeah.
weren't there on bed. So,
Right. And they're too deliberate to
oh yeah,
have been
there's,
scratched yourself.
oh no, yeah, no. So I'll show you them sometime, but I know, I felt myself being removed from my bed and floating and gone away and come back and stuff.
Oh,
So,
so you do think they take you with them?
oh yeah, there's no doubt because I come back marked up.
Yeah. No
I get up in the
memory at
morning and
all
go,
though,
what is
huh?
this? Huh? What?
No memory at all.
No,
Right.
that's why I take photos because it's like that was not there when I went to bed.
Do you
That little
think you
mark.
have any implants in you or anything?
I probably do, but
Right. Is this,
hasn't affected
do
me.
you think that's a scanning that's going on?
No, that I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. I have
Right.
no idea. But I know there's a lot of scanning. I know I've been other places and I know I was scanned there and I know what I know is that stuff that happened around our tent, there are no other people
Right.
in
No
the Rocky Mountain
explanation. Yeah. You
forest.
can't come
Yeah.
up with any explanation. For
No, we have to
yeah.
ride horses back to go there. Who else is wandering around in that park?
Right.
Yeah.
And chooses to sit down, a little kid
So
sitting down. Yeah.
yeah, and so the communications, my impression is they're definitely the superior being, obviously. And so
Right.
when they communicate, they don't really care what you know or don't know. They don't want to, well, you know what I mean? They're just kind of checking in and going, you see me? You see me. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, maybe we should talk about that a little bit. It's not, oh, I'm going to tell you all this information about who we
Right.
are and where we came from.
Right.
But the people that have gone into the Sasquatch Outpost and the stories I've heard up there, there was a lady who had the most credible experience of an interdimensional thing walking in the woods, where she went to this other dimension and came back, and her friend, and she thought it was just minutes. And her friend said, I've been looking for you for 7 hours.
Oh my
Where
God.
have you been? She said, you were behind me and then you were gone and now you're here.
Oh my God. And does she know the other dimension? How does she
Nope.
know she went to another dimension?
Because the plants, the music, and there was a being there that was telling her, gave her a puzzle to answer to get out. She had to answer questions. She said she felt like she was in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that Alice in
And
Wonderland story is
yeah,
true.
well, yeah. And I asked her, what were the questions and stuff, and she wouldn't. It was too much. Don't want to share that. So, but
Wow.
she's very credible.
Wow. And I
So,
wonder if they were checking her to see if she was back in her earth body enough to go back, logical enough to go back. I wouldn't know what else to think.
she had no idea. And like I said, it was very,
That
she had to
only
be
happened
taught.
once to her?
Yeah, well, that she would talk about. And she was a friend of a friend. And I asked if I could talk to her about it. And the other friend said, well, she's really kind of funny about it because it's still kind of fresh. So she only spent a little bit of time with me on it. And I didn't want to push her or too much. And just
Right.
tell me what you could tell me or feel like telling me, because I'm really curious and I want to support you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge. I just want to give you a place that you can talk about this and not feel picked on or whatever. So
Right.
she did. And then it was like, we're done talking. She had to leave. It was like, this is too much. I got to stop. So,
God,
but you can tell, you've been around enough people to know if someone's making a story up or
Oh yeah,
they
I know.
yeah,
I know that it was an experience, or it was, I heard this, I saw this. No, it really happened to you. Yeah. Yeah. Although there are times, I swear to God, I think, was that a movie or did that happen? So I might
yeah.
not be the best with that.
Oh,
So,
you're
yeah.
amazing. Don't kid yourself.
But do you think you're seeing the same Sasquatch, that they're the same, I don't want to call them people, but the same beings?
Well, I call them the Sasquatch people. No, there's the cinnamon one I see, yes, but I've seen other ones, especially when I was in the mountains in another location
Right.
on Jill's
So there'd be
Ranch,
another group there.
another group there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the cinnamon one, do you think there's a whole tribe of cinnamon?
Well, they're like people. Look at your cinnamon,
Right,
right?
exactly. This week.
This week.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they don't make mistakes when they show themselves, and it's really funny. You remember the Patterson Gimlin film back in the 60s? And
Yeah.
well, it was the one where they had the Sasquatch walking across the stream, and those two cowboys had their camera and they caught her walking across.
I don't remember it at all.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
called the Patterson Gimlin, Bob Patterson or Bob Gimlin, doesn't matter, but it's famous. That's the
Right.
first time they'd ever captured one on film. And it's a female because she
Mhm.
turns and you could see her anatomy, and it's clearly a female and likely had recently given birth.
Wow.
So fast forward, people are going, well, that was a costume, because we hear that a lot. That's a guy dressed in
Yeah.
a costume, right?
Can't accept that it might be real. Just
Right. Well, that film, when you watch it, you could see the movement of her muscles, the hair on her back, the way she turns, and her bone
I'm gonna have to
structure.
look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, her bone structure she's over 8 feet tall and probably 800 pounds. But
Wow.
you put a person in a costume next to her, you can't alter the bone structure so the elbow goes down that far,
Right.
or the hips, it would still be a 6-foot guy in a costume.
Yeah.
And that was
Or show the muscles work.
exactly.
Yeah.
And watch it, because
Yeah.
you could see them actually rippling on her back.
Yeah.
So people were saying, well, that's a costume. Well, that was the year Planet of the Apes came out, right?
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that hokey
I
thing?
remember that one. Yeah.
And they won best costume at the Oscars. And you look at that. So they went to the guy that made that costume and said, could you have done that? And he said, never.
Yeah.
He said, that no way could I have made that.
There's no way. Yeah.
So it's so credible. So yeah, everybody look that up. It's pretty interesting. And I met that guy at a conference in Oregon and had a nice chat with him. He's
Yeah.
probably 90s now, but
Right, right.
He never switches from his story. It's the exact same story how
Yeah.
they found him.
Now, have you ever asked them? Have you woken up to what looks like medical stuff has happened to you? Have you asked
Not
any of
me, but
them?
I know, no, and they are very much healing. There's a couple of people that will take people out to heal, just to spend the night with them and heal. But I
Yeah.
know people that have had healings.
And what kind of healings?
It would be um viral things.
Mm-hmm.
I've got stuff going on, not broken bones or oh gosh, that one lady, what was it she had? It was not MS, but it was something along those lines, but it wasn't.
ALG, no, AL.
No, it wasn't that. I don't remember, but it was something that was more significant than a cold, but not
Yeah.
MS. And she woke up the next day and went out to sleep outside just for a healing and woke up the next day and was fine. And I read about her and saw her at a conference too, and she was talking about it. And I
So
can't remember
she
her
went
name.
out, she went out and asked them to heal
Yes.
her. Yeah.
And there's a couple of people that will take you out to do that, but I don't know how credible they are, and
Right.
it's kind of expensive. So I think but they set up the tent and they set you up so you can have the experience. And I think it's your intention if you go out there,
Mm-hmm.
if you're just there because I know a lot of people that are at the Sasquatch Outpost, they're just dying to see one and they just run around trying to find one. It's like, then you're missing the whole point. They say, well,
Right.
would you take me out? And I'm like, I can't because you're not going to listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You know,
it's all receptive. I mean, you have
it's
no
all
control over this at all. It's all
I don't.
receptive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
mean,
you set
most
your
people.
intention.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all you can do is I
Yeah.
would like to if you want to.
Yeah.
That
I'm
kind of
open
thing.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here to do no harm. But we have a lot of people that get surprised by him. There was one guy who came in one day and he was so mad at Jim and he came stomping in there and he goes, you put a guy up on that trail in a monkey suit, didn't you? And Jim's going, who are you? Why would I do that?
Yeah, right. You're kind of thinking you're more important than you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jim was like, I wouldn't do that. And I don't know who you are. Anyway, finally got the guy calmed down and he had a forensic artist draw the Sasquatch that he saw. And it was a female one. And again, it looked like she had just given birth and, by her body structure and stuff. But
Right.
he was walking with his dog and the dog all of a sudden went, whoa. And he goes, what's wrong with you? And looked up and it was standing in the walkway sideways looking at him like you don't need to go any farther. And he turned around and left and went right to the store and said, you put that guy on the path, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
No, first of all, if you do that, you could get shot. Somebody's going to shoot you. I got a
Right.
Sasquatch.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
The guy was so
You're
upset he
not
left
safe.
Yeah, he left Colorado. He moved. He was that
Really?
worried about it. Yeah. It freaked him out so badly. So it's not always you draw them in because that happens to a lot of people. They just surprise you. It's like you cannot be
So they're
here.
not really ready for them. So, so
You would,
Sasquatch has appeared to people who are not really ready for
oh,
them. I kind
totally.
of thought when they were scanning you, that's what they're checking for. Or
You would
can you
think.
handle this? Yeah.
But she may have been there with her kids and said, no,
Mhm.
no. Excuse me, no humans allowed. Again,
Right.
nobody knows. If anybody tells you they do, they don't.
Right.
It's just,
Right. Right. Now, do you let's say when you go to the same places, with your
uh,
friends and all, or your friends even, do they know them the way we know each other? Do you know what I mean? Like
I don't,
I
yeah, I know
know
what you
you
mean.
and I know your name and where you're from, all
There
that.
are people that have set those relationships up that I know have done it.
Hmm.
One being the medical guy. That's why he and his wife go to the same place. They go there
Right.
all the time just to hang out with those people. I mean,
Right.
just to interact with them because it's so fascinating. He wrote a book and it's beautiful with pictures and stuff. Oh man, he took a lot of pictures. Anyway, Jason Frank,
Hmm.
look his book up.
Yeah.
Franke. It's really good. But he definitely is established and that's his intention. I want to establish this with you.
I want to have a relationship with you.
Relationship,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But
And
you haven't had that feeling. The one
no, I
that
haven't gone up that much. I mean, he
yeah.
goes up all the time to set that up. He
Right.
won't take anybody else and only his wife and he's not telling anybody where it is. I have no
Right.
idea where it is in the state.
Right. And
It
how
was
about
very,
your friends that live up there? Do they have relationships with particular
they
ones?
had, no, they did not at the last time I talked to them, which was a few months ago. They don't have any, they have sightings, but no relationship. Yes,
Right.
they have dogs, and dogs and Sasquatch don't get along.
Oh, they don't. Why, dogs make too much noise and are too aggressive toward them?
No,
Yeah. I
just
mean, the
don't
only
like.
one who's going to be aggressive toward that an 8 foot spot is going to be a dumb dog.
Well, and yeah, although there's some aggressive ones, but there's, a lot of people go, well, how can we never get pictures of them and such, right? They have this incredible sense. They can sense trail cameras and stuff, and they avoid them. So we'd have people come into the store because Bailey has all kinds of activity, and they'd say, I don't want these Sasquatch on my property. We tell them, put up trail cams because they can, it's the
They'll stay away from
electromagnetic.
that.
They'll stay
Yeah.
away. Yeah.
Do you think it's not wanting to be seen, or do you think there's an electricity there that they don't want to, they don't want near them?
They can pick up. I mean, they will zap your camera and make the battery just go dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That happens a
yeah.
lot.
If they can
But
do that to
people,
you with cameras, easy.
yeah. So when you
Yeah.
get zapped, you just kind of are stuck. It's like a
Mhm.
glitch in time or something.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that have seen them walk into rocks,
Just
just
disappear right into the rock.
right into a rock. And that's why I wonder about that one I saw on the flat rock.
Right, right. And when you were talking about them arching a branch, I wonder if that's the opening to a wormhole, like maybe a rock is too. That's their tunnel, to
Well,
go
I
to their
I
own
should have
dimension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I should have given you photos to put up. There's one I have that I walked up to this tree structure, and as I walked up, I heard in my head, sacred space, sacred space. And so I didn't go in.
Right.
Excuse me. But I took a picture, and the picture has this purple light in it now.
Oh, wow.
The
Yeah.
sunlight's going this way, the purple light's going this way.
The
And I
opposite way. Yeah.
just knew not
Yeah.
to go in there.
Because that's always been my belief that there's some kind of a tunnel or wormhole or whatever between dimensions that others can go through. I don't know that I'd ever try it.
Well, a lot of people see, space, saucers or some sort of space anomaly and light
Right.
coming down and then Sasquatch disappearing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that Travis Walton, he was, do you know that story? That was a
Oh,
guy who was taken up by he's one of the famous ones. He was taken up in the 60s or 70s. He was
oh,
yeah, he was a lumberjack,
oh,
I think in Arizona, but I might be wrong. But anyway, and he ran toward the spaceship. So he and his buddies all see the spaceship. Well, he runs towards it where, they're going the other direction. And he gets zapped and he's laid out and they thought he was dead, and I think he was, and I think I think a lot of people
oh,
think he was, and they took off, and then they thought we can't leave him there, and they go back and he's gone, and he says that he was taken up and healed, and then a week later dropped back, and told to get hold of his family.
wow.
Yeah. But he was healed, and he came to a couple times during the healing, and he saw ETs, like the Greys and all that. But he also saw army humans.
Really?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have to look him up.
Oh yeah,
That's
definitely. I'll
interesting.
get you information. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fascinating story. And the guy's alive now, and he's in his 80s, and they say he's in perfect health. Something happened in that healing. Yeah, he's in perfect health. His friends were they were arrested for murder because he was,
Oh, of him?
where did your buddy? Yeah, well,
Oh
they
my
all
goodness.
ran to the cops and said he's gone, he's gone. And then after a while, the cops said, well, you got rid of him. So it's a fascinating story, and the skeptics came in and tried to debunk it and really couldn't do it. I know, fascinating story. But anyway, so we're talking about the UFOs and the light that comes down, and he ran into it and got zapped and was laid out, and they thought he was dead. And
Oh my
probably
goodness.
he was.
Probably.
And the idea is kind of, oh my God, we've done harm. We can't, we cannot do that here. We've got to fix this. That I might be putting a spin on that, but I don't think that was
Well,
mine.
that
I think
makes
that
sense.
was, that was,
Well, and there's stories of Sasquatch that are very aggressive and harmful too, but for the most part, I
that's
don't
what I
believe
wanted to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are those stories?
Pardon me?
What are those stories?
Well, there's stories, they are very aggressive and you've come upon them and they come at you like this and whatever.
Oh, just to scare you, but not really to.
Well, there was that story in Russia about the 9 people that were just ripped to
No, I don't
shreds.
know that story.
That's another old one, but they were camping and they were young people. They were on the top of a mountain somewhere, and all of a sudden they never came back, and they went to find them, and they were just ripped to shreds. I mean, like their tongues were ripped out. It was not the kind of damage a bear or something would do. It was
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
so there's reports of them being aggressive, but for the most part, again, what do you attract? They've not been aggressive at all.
right, right,
They just kind of want to get out of your way or help you or just go, hi, you're looking at me.
right. So they're kind of like people, some
Yeah,
good,
they're
some not
playful.
so good. Yeah,
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 exactly.
right. But that's a little
Because
scary.
Well, yeah, and there's all kinds of there's a guy named Harvey Pratt, and he's a big FBI guy, but
Right.
he's also an Indian chief in Oklahoma. He's the chief of his nation, and he's also an artist. So he does a lot of forensic for criminals. So
Mhm.
he'll show you his picture, and then here's the criminal, and they are very much alike.
Right. So he
He said
psychically
it.
draws them.
Well, whatever, however, but
Yeah.
it's when you go, I was robbed by the guy will describe him, and then he sits there
Oh,
and
I
writes.
see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So then he started going to his Indian council and saying, the people you're seeing, let me draw them. So he has all these beautiful hand drawings of Sasquatch people
Oh,
that
wow.
the
Yeah.
Indian nations have seen and communicated with. And his stories are amazing, the communications he has with them, because again, they're trying to be friendly. But again, like that young man that said we get together every year, twice a year, to make sure we're still not going to go to war. But where I'm going with, he had a book about the San Juan Mountains and all the battles that were fought with Sasquatch and the Indians in the San Juan Mountains in California,
Right.
which is fascinating.
Yeah. And who was that? You said his name before, I think.
Harvey Pratt.
Right. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Well, before I go there, what do they eat? I mean, do you
They eat a lot of
find,
meat,
yeah,
meat and
do you
berries.
find carcasses and yeah,
And sometimes we found like the hind end of a deer thrown up over a tree that's 20 feet high. How to get up there?
right.
So they're just getting it out of the way. But I was at a conference in the state of Washington once, and this gal was telling me, I'll be quick with this, but she worked for the Forest
No,
Service,
it's
and she
okay.
was out in the streams, with her partner.
Yeah.
And they had to go in, and they'd go to separate streams. They parked the truck. He'd go one way, she'd go the other, and they were getting samples of the water and the fish and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she came back to the truck early. Excuse me, got in the passenger side, poured some coffee. Sorry, I'm talking too much. And just watching out the truck, watching the stream go by, drinking coffee. Her partner comes up and he walks to the front of the truck and he's going, what happened here? She's, what are you talking about? Goes out, and in front of the truck is blood everywhere.
Oh my
Everywhere.
God.
So she's like, what the hell? So they get out and look and start following it.
Yeah.
And they go into these bushes. And all of a sudden he tells her, stop, you can't see this. Well, she said, no, I'm going to look. They look in there, and there's a deer that had been torn in half.
Oh my God.
And the back half was there, and the front half had been drug in front of the truck, and she didn't even see it
Wow.
or hear it or anything. She went back.
It couldn't have happened before she came back?
No, because she walked right in front of the truck and got in.
She did. Wow.
She walked in front of the
Weird.
truck, got in, sat there drinking coffee, watching, and it was like 10 minutes. She said, maybe
Right.
30. It wasn't very long, but waiting for him to finish his job because he was driving. And when he walked up, he's looking at the front of the truck funny, and she thought, what? Anyway, she went back to the office and resigned that day. It was the weirdest thing she ever saw.
Wow.
Half a deer, so the other half drug in front of her, and it wasn't there when she got in the truck 10 minutes ago.
Right.
How do
Right.
you explain that?
Well, you know what? You know how people talk about timelines, that everything is present, but it's in different timelines. So we're not
Well,
aware of that other timeline.
but then
Possible.
it came back together because he saw it.
Right. But I mean, yeah, that's true. So it did come back together. Yeah. So the evidence was there.
But
That's
she
so
could have been
weird.
zapped because she said she was just watching the creek. And when we got
Oh,
zapped,
yeah.
if you didn't know it, you would think you were just kind of,
Sitting.
watching.
Right, right.
But
You were unaware of the time difference,
but I
time
love
loss.
going to
Yeah,
those conferences and hearing people's stories. They're extraordinary.
that
I mean,
is.
who rips a deer in half? So that's what I'm
Right,
saying. They eat a lot of meat and a lot of berries and such.
right, right.
And
So,
people have found places where they probably have slept. But
uh,
most part, you don't find any traces of them.
right.
A doctor friend of mine, he's a plastic surgeon, again, a medical credible person, bought property outside of in Missouri, doesn't matter, but it has a big lake on it.
Uh-huh.
And he and his wife are tracking them because they have footprints all around the lake all the time. And they see him all the time. There's a family.
Yeah. And it's the
He
same
swears to it.
family, right?
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah,
family. But
right,
he says we go down to the edge of the lake and you can see where they've been,
right.
walking along and fishing and stuff, getting fish and in and out of the lake. And
Does he
they're
ever
up on,
talk to him?
he's never talked to him, but he's very supportive of them. He keeps it
Yeah,
open.
yeah,
He
yeah,
comes out here a lot to go up to the mountains with us and hike around, and I learn a lot from him.
yeah. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, he's amazing. But he has to keep it quiet because it'll make him crazy back there.
Oh, yeah, you know.
A plastic surgeon by day and a
That's why he's
whatever at
coming
night.
here.
Yeah.
He's safe here. Yeah, yeah. That's pretty wild. Um,
Yeah.
do I don't know if you'll know this answer, but do they look different like you and I look different?
Yes.
They do. So you can
Yes.
recognize the different ones. Yeah.
Yes. It'd be like German shepherds. They all look alike, but they're different.
Right,
Or
right, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
people. And there's a lot of examples in the museum from the forensic artists, drawings of different faces, and some
Different
are
ones.
real. Yeah, some are real human looking, and others not at all.
Right. I wonder what appeals to them. If the human looking ones are ugly or beautiful.
Yeah,
You know?
good question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and Bailey again has so much activity. There was a fellow I met, and I can't remember what he did, but he was like the school superintendent or something, but that
Yeah.
wasn't it.
Yeah.
But he was talking about the first meeting I went to when we had those 80 people. It was probably right after that. And I was talking to him and I said, "Do you live in Bailey? Have you had activity?" He said, "Yeah, I grew up here." He said, "We used to watch them go across the ridge in the spring and back in the fall." He said, "There'd be a whole string of them walking across the ridge." He
Wow.
was like, "Every year." I'm
I,
like, "Really?" He's
I
like,
do
"Yeah."
wonder about the timelines because it's almost like they live here, but they're not here all the time.
And people go, "Is there?" We've actually had people say, "Is there more than one?"
Yeah. Well, you know, the original writings about them, it was like there was one here, there was one in Washington State, and then there was one in Iowa, but it was like just one, always just one, so
One of the things in the museum that Jim uncovered is every single tribe, Indian, Native American tribe, has one in their history. The big hairy
really.
man, 100%. They all have them.
And they are all the same one. I mean,
Well,
the one per tribe, but I mean, it's like that family is
but they
one in
talk
their
about it. I
tribe.
mean, it is something
Yeah.
that is really important to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you read the history, there's always something about the big hairy man, which
Yeah.
I thought was fascinating. It's like,
That is. That is.
yeah. So the
Gee.
museum has a lot of information that he's gathered. It's really good.
Right.
I
Wow.
recommend people go up there. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make you bring me up there.
Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get Ashley. Yeah.
She's ready.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would love to do it. I would.
Okay, we're going to do
And
that.
maybe even go out in the woods. I think
Absolutely.
I'm open to it. I think I'm good for it. You think it, but you don't know. But yeah, oh my God, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that too.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Yeah, thanks. And
We'll do
thanks
that.
for being on. I love this information. You
Thank
know.
you.
So again, people who want to talk to you directly, how did they get hold of you?
They can email me,
Mhm.
Shari, Shari, at Shari Peterson, author,
Peterson.
SON.
Yeah, because that can be different. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So ShariPeterson, author, AUTHOR.com.
Mhm.
Shari at ShariPetersonAuthor.com.
Are you going to ever write a Sasquatch book? Bleh.
Oh, haven't yet. Could happen.
Right. You said Bigfoot. Sorry, I'm bringing you back in. You said Bigfoot is a negative term.
To them, yes.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Just
You just know it?
they never use the term. Excuse
Yeah.
me. They just don't use the term.
Yeah. Yeah. Sasquatch doesn't use the term. And they call themselves Sasquatch? Yeah.
Sasquatch people,
Yeah.
which I find people, Sasquatch people.
Like a tribe. Many people. Yeah. That is so weird. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, you just as a courtesy, you go by what you call yourself.
Of
if I
course.
call
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
they have never said don't do it, but I just get the
Yeah.
sense that
They've never
they don't
used it
respond to that.
either. Yeah. Yeah.
They
That's
just don't
amazing.
respond to that.
Well, thanks so much for being on with
Yeah,
all this
thank you.
information.
Sorry, I'm losing
It's
my
great.
voice.
Oh, that's okay. I'll let you go now.
Hey, bye
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.